The Wedding Favor, Part 20. Entering Damien's building by herself is nerve-wracking. Ella is wearing her new clothes, so she certainly looks like she belongs, but there will always be a part of her that feels out of place in this kind of splendor. She blames her family for making her feel uncomfortable in this kind of environment. They always had a remark prepared about how she looked or what she talked about whenever they went out. Her mother had plenty to say about those things when Ella stayed home as well, but that's neither here nor there. A different doorman lets her into the building with a short nod. Is this guy also part of Damien's family business? The guy looks friendly and respectful, but then again, so does Damien. Who the hell even knows what mobsters look like in real life? The doorman offers to drag her carry-on to the elevator for her. No, thank you. I'll manage. Of course, ma'am. He opens the door with a flourish and a smile, not bothered by Ella's refusal at all. Ella is more bothered by being called ma'am than this guy is by being denied the opportunity to do his job. Ella hurries to the elevator to get away from all the awkwardness. She spends the entire ride up to the penthouse trying to calm her jittery heart. Ella is both excited and scared. She was really obnoxious to Damien last time they spoke, and while she's certain he's professional enough not to let it show, she's also expecting there's a limit to his acceptance of her behavior. But Ella has decided that she's not going to apologize. She's not. Ella deserves to know things concerning her fake boyfriend, so she wasn't wrong in badgering him completely. She could have handled it better, sure, but she had a rough day. Ella shakes her head. She doesn't have to think up excuses. She could have handled it better, period. She will do so the next time she gets the urge to pester Damien about his life. She doesn't have to chip away at herself to placate anyone, but she does want to be a good person. That means she can make mistakes, but she shouldn't bitch about it. Repeating that mantra to herself helps calm her nerves, and she feels more like herself than she has since this wedding debacle started. Damien is waiting for her when the elevator doors open. Crap. She thought she had an extra moment to gather herself before she had to ring his doorbell. Damien smiles hesitantly at her when she slowly steps out of the elevator. Ella smiles back just as crookedly. Hi, hello. His English lilt makes the word sound special. Ella has no idea where to go from here, but Damien anticipates her the way he always does. Shall I take your luggage inside for you? The idea of refusing him floats in her head, just to show she's an independent woman who can do everything herself. But her mantra is louder. Don't be a bitch about it. She hands him her bag, and his smile turns more genuine. Something settles inside of Ella. She's starting off on the right foot, it seems. You're later than I expected. It's 9:30. It's not that late. Do you want a drink before bed? A nice girl would say yes, but Ella's not doing things to be nice. She's doing things she thinks are good, which means not drinking during the night before an early flight. I kind of wanted to check if you packed everything. Ella mentally flinches. That sounds like she's doubting his ability, right? That's rude. Damien shrugs. Sure, I put the case in your room. He glances at the garment bag Ella is still carrying. You brought that dress your mom gave you? His nose creases a little. It's a more demure expression than Ella sports whenever she thinks of the monstrosity. Yeah, I felt like I should at least give it back to her if I'm not going to wear it. You could leave it here and say it got lost in transit. Ella frowns at him. I'm not going to lie to my mother. Damien raises a single brow and points between them. Ella flushes. Okay, I'm not going to lie to my mother about the $1,000 gift she gave me. My personal relationships are none of her business, so I can tell her whatever I like about those. Damien's answer is a smirk. Of course, I'll leave you to your things and go to bed early. Feel free to eat or drink anything in the kitchen if you do get a craving. He hesitates for one moment, glancing at Ella's mouth once. Ella's heart skips a beat, but then he simply nods and goes to his room, leaving her to make her own way to the guest room. The fancy suitcase in her room is meticulously packed, and there's even room for the extra things she brought along just in case. She fingers the soft new pajamas the tailor made her and that Damien left on her bed for her. She can't wait to wear them, but she adds them to her luggage and puts on her old pajamas instead. They are too threadbare to wear at the fancy resort they're going to, and she wants to keep the new ones clean. Besides, the bed sheets are soft enough for her, Ella gets into bed. It is as soft, as warm as it looks, and tries to go to sleep. Silence. There's no sound here whatsoever. No cars, no noisy neighbors, no buzzing electrical socket. Ella turns over, manhandles the pillow into a more supportive position, and snuggles into the sheets. This bed is so comfortable, she should be falling asleep instantly. Nothing. Sleep evades her completely. Ella groans and turns on her back. Why can't she sleep? She needs to be her best self tomorrow. She needs to bring her A game to sell her relationship with Damien. She needs to sleep. She crosses her arms and then uncrosses them with a huff. This is stupid. If she's not falling asleep, she might as well have that drink Damien mentioned. The kitchen is well stocked, but Ella settles on a glass of milk. She drinks it while leaning against the counter. The kitchen is clean and shiny, and it screams Damien in the little details. Like the little geometrical pattern that runs just above the counter. It is just artsy and subtle enough to remind her of Damien. Thinking of Damien brings to mind the question he asked her yesterday. Ella does not like being a good girl for her mother. She walked up to a mob boss and asked him to set her up with a date because she didn't want to be a disappointment to her mother. What kind of reason is that? Who goes to the mafia to make their mother happy? Insane people. Ella should be worrying about what makes her happy and not put herself in risky situations to please others. But that begs the question, what makes her happy? Her glass is almost completely drained by the time Ella gives up on thinking about what makes her happy. The only things that spring to mind are recent moments with Damien, like how she snorted at Damien's stupid duck gif, or that mind-blowing kiss they had in the car, or the way she felt when he stared at her in her blue dress. Even the way he put his hands on her while teaching her to throw him to the ground popped up in her head. Ella empties the last dregs of her milk into her mouth, ready to go back to bed and wallow in self-pity about not remembering one happy thing in her life. Halfway to her room, Ella stops. She does remember happy things. They're just all about Damien. Why don't they qualify as happy memories? Those were very enjoyable moments, and Ella certainly wants more of them. She's stuck in this situation until the end of the wedding anyway, so she can take advantage of their time together to make more happy moments. With a nod to herself, Ella continues down the hallway. She's a confident and independent woman who can go get what she wants. Damien is a confident adult man that can tell her off if he doesn't like what she's doing. He certainly wasn't shy about telling Ella off about her line of questioning yesterday. She's going to sleep in his bed, just like she wants to, unless he actively tells her not to. And the thrill of excitement that accompanies her decision simply hastens her steps. Damien is close to sleeping when Ella knocks on his door. He is spread out on his bed, one leg sticking out from under the sheets. The moment she opens the door, Damien sits up straight, wide awake, reaching for his bedside table. Ella quickly announces her presence. "Hi, are you sleeping?" He stills, one hand hovering in the air above the cupboard and the other clutching his sheets to his bare stomach. "Ella, what's wrong?" Ella is glad for the darkness. Damien won't be able to see the way she cringes in embarrassment. Why did she think this was a good idea? No. Ella shakes the doubt off. She's going after what she wants. She's confident and she can do this. "I wanted to sleep in your bed." When he doesn't answer immediately, Ella adds, "as a trial run for the resort." Damien turns on his light and stares at her for a moment. He glances down at himself. Sure, be my guest." He moves over to one side of the bed, the sheet slipping lower and revealing part of his bare chest. Suddenly he smirks up at Ella. "Want to trial anything else?" He spreads his arms wide in a teasing but not overbearing way. Ella, trying to keep things light, smiles and shakes her head. "No thanks." She moves to the empty side of the bed. Damien looks at her for a moment before he lifts the sheets higher, covering himself. "Wait, you're serious?" Ella's steps falter. "Yes?" They stare at each other for a moment before Damien hums. "Do you want me to change into something else?" Ella bumps into the corner of the bed that suddenly appears in front of her shin out of nowhere. She totally did not lose her balance because she was suddenly aware of the proximity between them. "No, it's fine," she says, catching her breath. Damien doesn't move for a few moments. "Do you want to stay here or get settled first?" Ella, flustered, turns around quickly. She hears him rustle around for a moment, then he gets back into bed. "All right, you're all set now. You can get in whenever you're ready." They lay next to each other stiff as planks. Ella still can't sleep, not even when Damien turns off the light and wishes her a good night. She doesn't know what she'd thought this would accomplish. She's not sure if she should turn to Damien and shoot her shot, not when she's not sure if he's simply humoring her or if he's actually enjoying himself. She squeezes her eyes shut and tries to reset her mind. What would make her happy right now? Not being confused, for one. I don't know when you're pretending and when you're real. Damien turns to her, propping one arm beneath his ear to stare at her with a confused look. I'm always real. Ella glares at him. That's not what I meant. I don't know which parts of you are the fake boyfriend and what is you. Damien thinks it over before he shrugs. The fake boyfriend is me. It's just a me who's in a dedicated relationship with you. The relationship doesn't exist, sure, but that version of me does. Ella stares at him. He is beautiful in the darkness, only illuminated by the occasional flash of light from his wristwatch. He is beautiful all the time, but right here, right now, he looks ethereal. Damien takes her silence as a cue to continue speaking. I've never lied to you, you know. I am also not secretly laughing at you inside of my head, if that's what you're thinking. Ella groans and turns away. She hides her face behind her manicured hands. How can he always get right to the core of her issue? Even before Ella realizes what her problem is, it's laughable. Sure, you're not laughing at the pathetic loser who has to basically rent a boyfriend to deal with her mom at a wedding. I can just imagine what she'd think about this if she ever finds out about it. Ella tries to sink into the mattress with another groan. Oh, and my sister is going to be there too. She'd glory in my degeneracy. And don't get me started on Aunt Eveline. Ella looks at Damien between her fingers, widening her eyes at him to show just how serious she is. She's even worse than my mother. She tries to one-up her at every opportunity. She's going to love the disappointment I have turned out to be. Damien Softy pulls one of Ella's hands away from her face with a gentle look on his face. He squeezes her wrist once and loosens up his grip. Ella can pull away if she wants to. She doesn't. You're the furthest thing from a disappointment I've ever seen. Ella makes a sound that vaguely resembles the word what. I'd be proud of you for doing all the things you do. Fixing up that old-timer. Classic. Ella interrupts him in reflex. Damien grins and corrects himself. Classic is an achievement, even though I obviously don't understand how big of one it really is. The way you give half your lunch to that coworker who is down on his luck is kind. You helped this one random old guy on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere and didn't even ask for anything in return. Not even when you could have extorted so much money out of him when you found the body in his trunk. Ella snorts. You're an amazing woman, Ella. Your mother is just blind to it because she only cares about her own values, and who knows what those even are. It takes some furious blinking to keep the tears from spilling out of her eyes. That's the nicest thing someone has said to her in ages. Damien smiles at her again, his eyes glancing to her lips once. The glance is all that happens, even if Ella wants him to do more. She sighs and rubs her eyes. She's not going to kiss him herself. She's not there yet, but she is up for something else. Do you want to cuddle? Sure. Ella stiffens when Damien pulls her close to him. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything unless you ask me to. Ella believes him, but that last bit sounded like a challenge. Will she take Damien up on it?